Oh, thank you everyone for joining. We're going to wait a couple minutes to get started as more people join. All right, thank you again to everyone who's joined. We are going to wait just 1 or 2 more minutes as more people join the webinar. But in the meantime, a note that if you have any questions, please go ahead and add those to the question panel, and we'll have a pretty lengthy Q&A session at the end. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Looks like most of our attendees are here now. So, thanks again for joining. This is our final training webinar for the Drive Electric Earth Day 2022 campaign. And today we'll talk about how to promote your event to the general public, media, as well as to public officials. Another reminder, if you have any questions, please add those to the Q&A panel, and we'll have a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. My name is Kylie Morgan, and I manage the National Drive Electric Week and Drive Electric Earth Day programs here at Plug in America. I'm joined today by my colleague, Noah Barnes. Noah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, yes, I'm Noah Barnes. I'm the Director of Communications for Plug in America. Thank you all for participating in Drive Electric Earth Day, and I'm excited to talk about some marketing with you all.
Awesome, thanks Noah. And also a reminder that we will be recording the webinar, and after this, we'll post both the recording and the slide deck to the Drive Electric Earth Day website. So if you're a volunteer or city captain and you have an account on the website, you'll be able to access that. Today, we'll cover how to host an inclusive EV event, how to set up your event page to prepare for marketing, as well as some tips for understanding your audience and what messages really resonate with them around electric vehicles. We'll also talk about engaging media and public officials. And then we'll focus on marketing tips, both for social media and some other creative ideas. So an important part of Drive Electric Earth Day is making sure that our events are welcoming to all. And a few tips for this are here. So starting off, you can consider featuring used EVs at your event, as well as alternative electric transportation options, such as e-bikes, e-scooters, or e-buses. Plug in America also has a used EV buyer's guide, so you can check that out for great talking points for your event. Also, consider if your event is easily accessible via public transportation. And also be sure to check if it's easy to navigate using wheelchairs, canes, or similar devices. If you have enough volunteers, it may be good to also assign a volunteer who can check in with, and if requested, assist people with any vision, hearing, or mobility impairments. And next, be sure to promote the event in multiple languages, and if possible, try to have bilingual volunteers at the event. This really helps to ensure that the messages and the education at your event reaches everyone who attends. So before you start your marketing, here are some tips for setting up your Drive Electric Earth Day event page. First, if you have any COVID-19 safety requirements at your event, you can list those. We'll be releasing national COVID-19 safety requirements for all events soon. Also, you can set up the contacting attendees feature. If you log into the website and then go to your event page and click the Manage Event button, that's how you'll be able to set up this feature. And what it does is it allows attendees to opt in to share their email address with you, the local event organizer. Next, you can set up a feature that allows EV owners to offer to share their experience, show their electric vehicle, or both. And if you already have enough volunteers in EVs, you can also turn off this feature. Finally, we would encourage you to finalize your date, time, and event description by February 22nd. Around February 22nd, we'll be launching our national marketing campaign. So we want to make sure that your event is ready for that. And here are some additional tips on setting up your event page. So one tip is to describe the vibe at your event. Is it going to be more family friendly with lots of kids activities, or will it be more exciting and more geared towards adults? Also, if you have any high profile performers or guest speakers, you can highlight that on your event page. And if you have a downloadable flyer for your event, that's a great addition. You may also want to provide tips on parking or any charging stations nearby. Also, if you're part of a larger Earth Day event, you can include a small map that indicates where the EV showcase is as part of that event. And then finally, we have the DEED social media guide. We have lots of template social media posts and graphics that you can use to promote your event. And I'll pass it to Noah.
Yeah, I wanted to talk for just a minute about kind of messaging around electric vehicles and during Drive Electric Earth Day, both in terms of your advanced marketing, but also when you're at the event itself and talking to people about electric vehicles. So on this slide, I listed some different motivations for people for why they switch to electric vehicles. And I think, obviously, this is Drive Electric Earth Day. Electric vehicles are great for the environment, both in terms of reducing climate change, but also in terms of creating cleaner air or cleaner water in your communities. And so, we, of course, certainly talk about the environmental benefits of electric vehicles, but some people aren't always as aware of some of the other benefits of electric vehicles. So I wanted to highlight a few of those. And I'm sure for most of you, this is not news, but it's just a reminder that, there are many benefits to driving electric beyond just the environmental benefits. And sometimes people don't always know about those. So as you probably know, electric vehicles are cheaper to operate in terms of electricity is a cheaper fuel than gasoline. There's less maintenance, and they're convenient in that you don't have to take trips to the gas station. There's no more oil changes. For many people, you can just plug your car in at night and let it recharge overnight. So, they're really, there are a lot of cost savings and convenience benefits to driving electric. Performance, electric vehicles have instant torque. They have a smooth, quiet ride. And for some people, national security is actually a concern in terms of electric vehicles because with electric vehicles run off of domestic electricity. We're not sending money overseas for foreign oil. And jobs are also an increasingly big part of the movement around electric vehicles in terms of the many, many jobs that are created here in the United States in energy and manufacturing and technology around electric vehicles. So I think those are some of the things to highlight. And what we have found in both of our surveys and our message testing that we do when we run social media ads for current EV drivers. So I'm sure many of you are electric vehicle drivers. They report that the environment is the most important consideration in terms of why they drive electric. And so that's really important to know. We do want to highlight the environmental benefits. But for the general public, what we have found when we do, for example, when we do social media advertising and we'll test different messages, oftentimes the cost savings and convenience ads are the ones that get clicked on the most. Again, I think everybody kind of knows that electric vehicles are better for the environment, but people don't always know that it's a lot cheaper to fuel your car with electricity, especially now with gas prices increasing. So it's good to sort of highlight those different benefits. And our executive director, Joel Levin, often talks about how driving an electric car is not like eating broccoli. Like sometimes people think like, oh, well, this is something that I just do to, because it's better for the environment. But really electric vehicles are pretty much better all around. And so driving electric is not a compromise. And I think that's an important thing to highlight when you're talking to people about electric vehicles. Next slide, please. So the media is really great to engage with your event. You know, in particular, local TV stations and local newspapers are often happy to cover interesting events like this. You know, one of the things that we have found is that TV stations in particular love, you know, showing the different cars. It's a really visually interesting thing for them to show on television. And in addition, electric vehicles have been in the news a lot lately. So this is an opportunity to kind of leverage all of the press around electric vehicles, tie it into your local community. So, you know, we often hear about kind of what's going on with EVs nationally, with federal policy and things like that. But this is a way for you to approach your local media and say, hey, you know, here in our town, we have a lot of EV drivers, and here's an opportunity to kind of come see what EV drivers in our community are doing. We do have some templates for contacting the media. So if you go under the account section on driveelectricearthday.org, go to the event planning guide, and you can find some templates there for press releases and media alerts. We also, some other strategies for securing media at your event. Focus on what makes your event unique. Again, connect what's happening nationally with what's happening locally in your organization or in your community, and share compelling stories. So if there are people who you know, have an interesting story about why they switched to an electric vehicle, feel free to share those with the media as well. In terms of when to invite media to your event, I would say at least 1 week before your event. I think somebody in the chat just said 2 weeks. That's, yeah, 1 to 2 weeks is great. Send out a media advisory to your local news stations to get it on their radar so that they know that this event is coming up. It's always good to remind them 1 or 2 days before the event to have, you know, camera crews come out to your event. And also day of the event, you know, again, call your local news outlets, send a press release after the event of how the event went, and any compelling highlights, because sometimes they'll report on it afterward. Next slide, please. So it's also great to engage your public officials. Oftentimes, you know, local mayors, local city council members, county officials are very happy to attend events. You know, it's worth noting that for many people, this is an election year. So sometimes that is a reason to kind of come out and participate in events like this. But, you know, encourage your local officials to attend, to give speeches at the event. And that can also be a draw for attendees who want to then come see their local officials speak. You know, likewise, reach out to your local utilities, police departments, fire departments, you know, other kind of similar groups that might have an interesting, that might add an interesting element to your event. And we can also, you can also encourage your local city or your state to issue a proclamation declaring this as a month for EV education throughout your city or state. And we have some templates for those as well. And with that, I'll hand it back to Kylie.
All right, thanks, Noah. So when marketing on social media, here are a few tips for your content and how you do that. On social media, you can use live tweeting or stories to help produce more engaging content. Also, if you add captions to videos as opposed to only relying on sound, that can actually increase how long people watch the video. And within those captions, if you ask questions, that can turn the text into more of a conversation with the viewer. Next, you also want to try to deliver your message within 5 seconds. And if you're able to use mixed format marketing, you may see better results. And for example, you can use a combination of both videos and photos across your social media accounts. Next, try experimenting with bite-sized, fast-paced narratives. A couple tools for this is Adobe Spark and Canva. Canva is actually free, and they recently added a lot of great templates for short animated videos. So it makes it really easy to create this content. Next, we can definitely help amplify your posts if you tag us at Drive Elect events and use the hashtag DEED2022. So if you have a budget for paid advertising, Facebook and Twitter ads can be a great way to reach more people. $100 can reach as many as 10,000 people. And you can also target those ads to reach people who are interested in electric vehicles or related topics, such as the environment. Of course, send them to your DEED event page where they can RSVP. That way, if you have any updates to your event later, you can email them on your DEED event page. And we do recommend starting to promote your event at least 3 weeks in advance. If you're going to be using Google Ads, we link to a helpful document there with more detailed tips. All right, so many urban event goers also use neighborhood guides to find events. One example of this is the Denver Post, The Know. So if you have any local neighborhood guides, maybe partner with them to promote your event or even pay for some advertising if you have the budget. Also, if you can create fun, shareable content, that's a great way to promote your event. Eventbrite actually found that 10 to 20% of ticket sales typically come through social media. And also consider offering free booth spots. So if you generally charge a fee for having a booth at your event, but maybe you want to reach a younger audience, you can offer a free booth spot to a local college club. Another great way to promote your event is to send targeted emails. So on your DEED event page, you can actually send emails to specific groups of attendees. So you can send an email only to the EV owners and another to the non-EV owners. And this is great because, for example, when you email the EV owners, you can focus on how the event is a great way to connect with other drivers and can really be a way to get involved in a passionate EV community. Another idea is to create an event community around your event. This is a great way to bring people together year after year. One way to do this is offer social media badges for attendees after they RSVP. You can also create a social media account for your event. And that way, leading up to the event, you can post sneak peeks or event activity announcements and really get people excited for the event. As always, our top tip is to partner with existing events. This is a great way to increase your reach and engage with people that you may normally not see at your event. But also remember that you really bring a lot of value to any event because you bring a showcase of the latest technology in driving, and you bring owners who can talk to people about that experience. Go ahead, Noah.
Okay, great. So one other idea is doing an event at a workplace. Now, right now, a lot of people are working from home. You can probably tell I'm working from home. But if you do work for a company or there are companies in your area that have a lot of staff on site, workplace events can be a great way to reach a lot of new people. Even if the workplace isn't related to EVs, you can still talk to your supervisor or talk to the company about doing an event and proposing, giving colleagues a short Zoom presentation on EVs or hosting a test drive for employees at lunchtime. If the company has EV charging, that's also a great thing to highlight as workplace charging is really important. One other thing too is with workplace events, they can also often take place Monday through Friday rather than on a weekend. And that can sometimes make it a little bit easier to get dealers to bring cars to test drive. Sometimes weekends are busier for them and they're more likely to come to an event during the week. Next slide, please. And there's some work going on, so I apologize if there's some background noise. I'm not sure what's going on out there. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can. So I also wanted to give a few sort of photo tips. Oftentimes, the difficult thing with some of these events is we're often taking pictures of people who are looking at cars, which means we often get photos of people's backsides as they're looking at the cars. So we definitely encourage you to take pictures of people who are looking at the camera, smiling, interacting with the vehicle. Yes, those might be posed versus, candid, but that can often make for more compelling images. Some other ideas is putting a camera in a dashboard as you're doing a test drive, or even going on Facebook Live while you're doing a test drive to sort of show people the experience of taking a test drive. There's also something called the instant torque face. Oftentimes people, when they see what it's like to really hit the accelerator on an electric vehicle, there can be a look of surprise. So that can be really fun to capture in a photo or a video. We also have a lot of photos on the Deed Media page that you're welcome to use. You just have to make sure that you credit the photographer as it's listed on the website, but feel free to use those images in your own promotions. When you're taking pictures of people, always ask permission, especially if you're getting their faces. Always try to avoid photos of children. There's, kind of more complex legality around photos of children. So if you are taking pictures of children, get their parent or guardian's permission. But it's usually better to just avoid pictures of children. And you can also post a disclaimer sign at your event that says that by attending this event, you're giving permission to be photographed. Next slide.
All right, so thanks so much, Noah. So we're going to open it up to questions now. I'm going to take a look at the Q&A panel here. So one question, will we be able to share the recording with other members of our event team? Definitely. So the link to the recording and slides is available on the event planning guide when you're logged into the website, but the actual recording is hosted on YouTube. So you can share that link with anyone. And another question, what is a social media badge? How does one get it and how do we deliver it? So that's a great question. A social media badge could be something as simple as an image that you create for your event. It could be the outline of a charging station or an EV, and maybe have the name of your event. It's really something that you create and can send to attendees to make them feel like they're a part of a community by attending your event. And then we also have another question here about EVs being better for the environment. So Noah, I don't know if you have any communication tips on, kind of just general talking points for EVs in the environment?
Sorry, I was just reading the question. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a controversial issue at times. There are people who kind of raise concerns, but overall, studies show that electric vehicles, when you consider the full life cycle of the vehicle, electric vehicles are far better for the environment than gasoline vehicles because they don't have a tailpipe, because they don't produce emissions. I think right now it's true that the production of electric vehicles might generate more CO2 than the production of gas vehicles, but again, kind of over the life cycle of the vehicle, it's far more beneficial to drive an electric vehicle than a gasoline vehicle. So, and there are a lot of kind of studies and things out there that sort of back that up. So, feel free to kind of lean on some of those as well.
Definitely. And another question here. Let's see. So this question, we are trying to set up an event, but aren't to the point where we want to promote it yet. Should we register the event now? So I would definitely register your event sooner rather than later. There's a couple reasons for that. The first reason is that we're currently offering free event materials, but you do have to request them by February 25th. And in order to request them, you do have to have a date, time, location, and event description. So if you register it now, at least you'll start having EV owners sign up for the event while you finalize those details. And then you'll be ready to request the event materials when you finalize those details. All right, so another question from Holly. We are trying to reach moderate income folks. This means we need to offer ride and drives in used EVs. Okay, so we do have, the Plug-in America used EV guide, which can provide some great talking points around used EVs, as well as advice on, how to inspect the vehicle before you buy it. But regarding materials focusing on, promoting them and the lower prices, I would also look to the Plug-in America EV guide. There are tons of options available now at a variety of price ranges. And there's so many all-electric vehicles with more than 250 miles of range that aren't super expensive, that aren't the price of luxury vehicles. So I think those are great resources.
Also, just to add that we will be distributing the electric vehicle guide to events, but within the electric vehicle guide, there are QR codes that link to some other resources that Plug-in America has, including the used EV buyer's guide, as well as our webpage with incentives. So, the different tax credits and rebates that are available also definitely help make electric vehicles more accessible.
Definitely. Okay, I'm gonna check the chat now. See if we have any questions here. So just a reminder, thanks to Elvia Thompson for this tip that they found personally that media wants 2 weeks of advance notice. So, be sure to give them 2 weeks.
I'll jump in and Frederick pointed out to not forget to mention local pollution. I definitely agree with that point. Sometimes, climate change should not be controversial. I think we all agree on that. But, sometimes people kind of roll their eyes or whatever when you talk about climate change and global warming. But, I live here in Los Angeles and, you can see the smog, there's air pollution. And so, driving electric definitely helps reduce smog. It creates cleaner air in your own community. There was an event organizer in the Seattle area who talked about how, gas cars lead to oil spills and lead to, runoff that goes into Puget Sound. And, so it can affect the water quality as well in your area. So I definitely agree with Frederick that beyond just talking globally, focusing locally on kind of what's happening in your own community can really help encourage people to make the switch.
Yeah, and on that note, a common piece of feedback we receive at events is people wonder if, the power plants that are supplying electricity produce pollution, and so if it's worth it to drive electric. And there are actually studies on that show power plants across the US are getting cleaner, and many of those are already using renewable energy. So for almost all Americans in the US right now, it is still cleaner to drive electric, even considering the emissions from power plants. All right, so I'm gonna check if we have any more questions here. Oh, another question, is there a nice legal template to use for photo permission? I would recommend emailing deed support, which is on the slide here. It's support@driveelectricearthday.org. We have used a written permission slip in the past when we took photos of children's faces at events, so we can provide that kind of template.
I saw a question here about if we've added the ID4 to the buyer's guide. Yes, the ID4 is in the electric vehicle guide.
Also, we have updated it recently. So the updated version is going to be on the Drive Electric Earth Day website soon. And that's what will be sent to your event if you request an event kit. All right. Well, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined. And be sure to email us if you have any questions. We're here to support you. In the coming weeks, we'll also be pointing your attention to many of the free resources that we have available. So we'll point your attention to that in various emails and keep you updated on everything going on with the campaign. All right, have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks to Noah for joining.
Thanks, everyone.